Hello everyone, welcome back to A Wild Approach. Today I'm going to have a garden tour video for you guys so you guys can see what it looks like on November 4th today. Right off the bat we have these late boneset seeds, and they're just really pretty, almost as pretty as the flowers were. And back when these were flowering, they smelled really good. They actually still smell pretty good. I collected some seeds the other day and smelled them. This plant leans way over, as you can see. But this plant volunteered. I'm pretty sure it volunteered because I planted some white snakeroot seeds in this area. And so at first I thought that's what this was. And then I found out that this was late boneset. So either the seeds that I thought were white snakeroot were actually late boneset, or it completely volunteered. I'm not really sure which. And then there's the arbor right now. And here are the seed heads for the purple coneflower. The birds absolutely love these. And here are some seed heads for the New York ironweed or tall ironweed. I forget which one I have because I planted it so long ago, and I think I had seeds for both, and I just don't remember which one took. But yeah, so I have lots of seed heads of ironweed everywhere. And then I have a baby tiny baby button bush right here. I mean, it is small. I grew it from seed this past year. So we'll see if it does well. This is one of those areas of the garden that I think gets more moisture, but I'm not 100% sure. It does still get dry sometimes. So buttonbush really prefers like a more moist environment. So we'll see how it goes. But this is also where my ironweed really just is so happy. And I think it likes more moisture. So when it's super happy and tall like it gets here, makes me think that there's more moisture here because it does dip down here. And the water runs down here from the top of the hill, because this is actually downhill from up there, and water comes onto this concrete and runs down. And this is where I have my elderberry shrub, and it is pretty much completely done for the season. There's some green on the tips. It's kind of hard to see in this video, but there's some green leaves on the tips. You can see those. But the rest of it is pretty much bare right now. And it's not often that I talk about this retaining wall. This retaining wall needed repaired a few years ago, and I repaired it. But I'm not a professional at all, obviously, as you can tell. And so I have an idea for this, but I'm going to keep it a secret until I finish it. I have an idea on how to make this pretty. So, yeah. And there's that cast iron artifact we dug up recently. If you watched the other video, you know. And this will be going back on the hose bib when it's cold enough for that. This area is... it's always been a difficult area for me to garden because it gets so weedy. So many things come in. I used to grow cilantro here, and there's actually baby cilantros coming up right now. So, but then of course you see all this Bermuda grass. And this... gonna let that vehicle go by. Do you need a short, quick guide to get started in wildlife gardening? Well, turns out I've got just the thing. I just came out with a new free ebook just for you, and it's called A Wild Approach to Gardening 101. And it's available on my website today at macylou.com/shop. It's free, so go check it out. What do you have to lose? Hey guys, can you do me a quick favor, pretty please? Could you hit the like button and the subscribe button under this video? It really helps me know which videos resonate with you guys. Now let's get back to the show. And keep in mind, this is the garden bed where I used herbicide years ago to kill the Bermuda grass. And it came back. Because it will creep back in. Because if you have a lawn at all of Bermuda grass, which I do still have some lawn here, it will creep back in to everything. So yeah, herbicide kills it if you do it a bunch of times and if you keep doing it, but if you stop like I did, it will come back. Because I just didn't want to use herbicide all the time. So pulling it up is kind of a lost cause. I mean, if you pull it up and you immediately replace it with things that will take over, then it can work. But if you just pull it up and leave it empty, it will come right back in like days. I'm not joking. Days. So I decided to just stop obsessing over it. So what I do instead is I basically just pull it out when I can and then immediately plant seeds or plants in its place. So if I don't have a plant to go here, I'm not going to pull this because it's a waste of time because it's just going to come right back. And it gets these seed heads. Actually, this is a different grass. There's another invasive grass that comes in here. But, oh, we have a friend right here. Came to visit. Look at that. Gulf fritillaries are still hanging out with me all over the place. I actually am surprised. I thought they would be gone by now. It's November. But they're still hanging out. I've even seen their caterpillars still hanging out. So anyways, sorry for that big turn there. So don't worry. I know this garden is a mess, but I do have good things in here. They're just hard to see right now. I've got butterfly weed. I've got mountain mint. I've got purple coneflower. I've got bergamot. I've got violets. I've got goldenrod. I have some really good stuff in here. And then as you go on, I've got blanket flower. I've got ironweed. I've got gara. I've got frostweed. So I have some great stuff in here, but the Bermuda is still here. I should probably chop those goldenrod seeds off of those plants because that is one of our more aggressive goldenrods. But it may be too late because if I cut that, it might kind of go everywhere. So we'll see. And then I've got more mountain mint, more gara, more blanket flower, purple coneflowers in here somewhere. There's some canna lilies back there. I used to think I had invasive canna lilies, but now I think they might be native ones. I don't know, you guys. I really don't know. So I need to do some investigating in that. And then there's like a yellow iris back there. Again, I don't know if it's an invasive or a native. Like a really sweet lady gave them to me. And she cares about native plants too. And so I don't think she would give me invasive plants. But I was really confused because there was a while where I didn't know that there were natives of the canna lilies, for example. I didn't know there were any native ones. I thought they were all invasive ones. So, of course, that was after she gave them to me too. So, but oh, look at this little guy. Hi, little guy. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. Are they mating? Oh. What are you guys doing? Cool. So, anyway, we've got a lot of partridge pea stems. Partridge pea is annual, and it creates a lot of seeds. So you may think it seems perennial in a way because it reseeds itself so well, but it's actually an annual from what I've read. And so even though these will die back completely, all the way to the ground eventually, they just produce so many seeds that they reseed themselves exactly in the same place and in other places. We have been having some strange blooming in the garden lately, like some of the partridge pea is blooming again. Some other things are still blooming or blooming again that don't normally bloom. I'm going to show you that stuff as we go through the video. But right here, I've got Russian sage, obviously not native, it's Russian sage. But I do love this plant. Now, I love it, but I hate it. Like, I love it in some ways, I hate it in other ways. I love the smell of it, I love the blooms, I love that it attracts the pollinators. But sometimes it just looks really messy. And, you know, I love messy gardens, but sometimes this looks a little too messy. I don't know how to explain it, especially when I have my native sticks sticking out of it. It's just kind of a weird combo, but of course ironweed is just so much taller that's probably part of it, but ironweed is just so beloved by all of our native wildlife that I don't really like to get rid of it, so there's that. And there's the front porch, and sorry if the lighting is weird in this video. It's just really sunny today, even though it said it was going to be cloudy. But that's that side of the main path. And if we look at this side, okay, so I want to take a minute to talk about this side of the garden. I have plans to completely overhaul this. I have had that yellow lantana that you might see in the background. I don't know if you can see it, but there's yellow lantana, and it's huge. And it does attract butterflies really well. I'm going to say that. I'm going to be honest with that. But it's not native. And it takes up a lot of space. It kind of flattens some of my natives. But also, what else do I have here? I have oregano. I have bergamot. Here's the bergamot. Going to seed. So it's really just oregano, bergamot, and lantana. And I just don't like this area. So I think this might be where I put the pond. Because I am wanting to put a pond into this garden. And I was going to put it over there, like in the lawn. And I was going to just have it put there. But I don't know if that's enough room. So I might put it here. So this whole area might completely get an overhaul. And actually be a pond. And then I'll have some plants on the edges of the pond, and hopefully I'll have room to put at least a bench or a chair or two near the pond so we can actually like enjoy it. But I am gonna miss the lantana, even though it's not native, because I hear that it can be invasive. I don't know if the yellow that I have is invasive, but I've heard that it can be, and I just don't want to take the risk when I have two of them, and they are huge. Like, they go from all the way from here to here, just one plant. That's one plant. And then the other plant is over here. And it's not nearly as huge, but it still is pretty big. It goes from there to like there. So imagine all that being gone, all the oregano being gone, the bergamot being moved around. There should be plenty of room for a pond right there. There should be. Small pond. And then I have some non-native succulents, or what do you call them? Oh gosh, what do you call those? Stone crop or succulents, or it's killing me. I can't remember the name of that, but I have a bunch of it. I like it, but it's not native, and I have a native one in the backyard, but I don't know if the native one made it. But you can find native ones, and they're really cute. You just have to plant them in the right place, and sometimes maybe that's tricky. I've got common milkweed coming up. This is my common milkweed area as well, so that's going to be something I need to think about when I do the pond, is like from there all the way over there is common milkweed stems. But I'm thinking about moving away from common milkweed anyway, because it does really, really well in my garden in June and July, but August, September, October, it starts to kind of just like completely go away. And it does pop back up this time of year, but it's already kind of too late to really do anything for the monarchs this time of year. So I think I need a more drought tolerant milkweed, and I have a list that I plan to try out. And then I also have a path here of concrete blocks, but they've been kind of covered up by the lantana and the succulents. So I think I'm going to actually take these stones out and just do away with this path. I don't think I'm going to have a path here anymore, because it just doesn't really make sense anymore with the new design. Plus, when I create the pond, I can create a path to the pond, and that will make more sense. And then just not have a path here anymore, and just have this be garden. And there's more bergamot here. It kind of looks sparkly today. It's the powdery mildew, but I have this weird thing where I think powdery mildew is actually pretty. I know that sounds weird, but I do. It makes it look frosty, and I just like that, I guess. And then over here, we've got the Salvia coccinea, and it's pretty much done. There is a little bit left. Right there, you can see the red blooms. And the butterflies loved this. Absolutely loved this. So this is a great butterfly plant. Now, this is not native to my state. It's native more south of here. It's native like down in like Georgia maybe. I forget exactly. But it's native down south. And I call this native enough. I know that sounds stupid. It kind of is a stupid thing to say, but when a plant is native nearby but not exactly in my state, as long as it's not problematic, then I call it native enough. But you know what? It's okay if you disagree. I totally understand, because it's not really accurate. But it is a good plant for the butterflies, and from what I've been told, it doesn't become a problem like lantana does. So just keep all that in mind. And look, see, here's some of my common milkweed that has come back later in the season. And then I also have some little milkweed bugs. You can kind of see. I think I zoomed in too far. You can kind of see some little milkweed bugs on here. Look at that cutie. Hopefully you can see him. Okay. And I planted 3 aromatic asters in this small area, which was a huge mistake. They get huge. So I dug up 2 of them, put them at the roadside bed, and then I left one of them, which you can barely see because this area needs weeded. This area has needed weeded. It's been weeded, but it needs it again. Bad things come into this garden really easily, as you can see. I get a lot of creeping Charlie. I get a lot of invasive grasses. They love this spot. So this is telling me that I should put drought-tolerant flowers, and I should... Ooh, there's a butterfly on the salvia right there. Look at that. I was just talking about that. But anyway, what that's telling me is that I should add drought-tolerant flowers next to the asters, and I should also add native grasses. Since all these non-native invasive grasses are coming in, that's telling me that native grasses might actually do really well right there. So I'm thinking Indian grass, switchgrass, blue stem, things like that. Moving on, this is my ironweed patch. I know I shouldn't have cut it down, but I did. I am becoming a little bit more open-minded to cutting things back. Obviously, it's better to not cut anything back, but if you have things falling over your path, if you have things that are just so tall and they're just falling on other things, because you're like me and you just, back when you first started, you just planted things and hope for the best rather than thinking about how tall they were going to get. Because this is my first bed I made from scratch. So it has a lot of problems and it has a lot that needs to be done. I've learned a lot since I created this garden bed. And so if I keep these ironweeds here, they really need a big shrub to lean on or a tree to lean against or something bigger and bushier, preferably a shrub, and that's why I put the button bush here that I already talked about. I put it too close to the path, but I wanted it to get plenty of sun, and if you notice, it looks a little bit darker over there, and so I wanted it to get plenty of sun because button bush loves sun. And the water from the runoff should also help it, hopefully, in this spot. But yeah, I also have some non-native irises in there. I've got Verbena bonariensis, purple coneflower, blanket flower, frostweed. I think there's a little bit of lance leaf coreopsis coming up, which is great. That should be really good in this spot because it's so sunny. Like, this is bright, hot sun right here. And here's the non-native spirea that I plan to replace someday with something that is similar. So I like it because of its size and the attractiveness of its form. But I do wish it was a native. Like, I wish there was a native there. So I'm just gonna wait until I can find something that actually kind of has a similar form to it, has a similar shape to it. And I've seen some things that might work, like the native northern bush honeysuckle and similar related shrubs. And there's also things like coralberry that might work. There's things like New Jersey tea that might work, but I don't know if they'll work yet in this spot. So I've bought a few of those and I've planted them in other areas to kind of give them a test run and see. Because this plant, even though it's not native, what it gives me is it gives me a structural element here almost the whole year. Wintertime is really the only time it doesn't have something going for it. So that's why I have that. But it's also because I planted it back when I didn't really know anything about native plants versus non-native plants. And then this is where we planted the crossvine. And you can see I've planted it right next to this arbor so that hopefully it will grow up the arbor. And I do plan to paint the rest of the arbor blue. So it's meant to all be blue. I just haven't painted this yet because this is pressure treated wood and I wanted it to completely dry out before I painted it. But I can probably paint it now. So And then over here we have some native grasses and some rudbeckia. So this is the native grass, this is switchgrass, and this is the rudbeckia. And it had beautiful yellow blooms, and it lasted a pretty good amount of time. And this is frostweed. And unfortunately, I have a lot of creeping Charlie and Bermuda here, but there's also this really good plant called yellow wood sorrel. And yellow wood sorrel is a native, but it just kind of comes in on its own. I didn't plant any of this, so I'm glad that it's coming up, because the creeping Charlie is kind of a pain in the butt. And the Bermuda is coming up, as you can see, but the native grass should help over time. And then right here, this is a volunteer plant. I don't actually know for sure what this is. I think it's native, but I don't remember exactly what it's called. It's leaving me at the moment. But it does have this really pretty reddish peach color, which I like. And here is some frostweed seeds. You can kind of see what they look like, mixed with some ironweed over here. Moving on. And then over here I have some blue mistflower, some common wood sedge, and I have some lanceleaf coreopsis, which I think the lanceleaf coreopsis came up on its own. I don't think I planted that one there. And then there's some more blue mistflower. There's some purple coneflower over there, and some wild senna. And then I have a lot of wild red columbine right here, which hummingbirds absolutely love. But I do have some like chickweed and henbit that I need to pull out. And I have a rattlesnake master plant right here, which is underneath these leaves here. And then over here I have a rudbeckia, and I have more mistflower, golden Alexander right here, which is starting to turn colors for fall. You can see kind of a golden mixed with green, mixed with kind of a purple. So that's really cool. And I have all of this underneath my black cherry tree. And I've got this oak leaf hydrangea. This is a really beautiful plant. It gets sometimes like a scarlet fall color, and sometimes it's more purple, like right here. So, yep. Oh, there's some of the red fall color. And then I have more little baby columbine plants right here. They're just babies right now. And over here I've got a mix of river oats. I saw them growing under some trees at Seven Islands, and so I planted them under my cherry tree. And I got the seeds from a Wild Ones plant and seed swap. So I really love the seeds on these. They're really, really pretty. And they look like jewelry or something. I don't know how to explain it. They look like little charms, like little necklace charms or something to me. And then we've got more purple coneflower. And I have some columbine right here that's a little bit of a bigger plant. And it's really pretty, and it has that, I think they're kind of evergreen, like semi-evergreen. And they're just really pretty right now, and I have a bunch of them right here. So that's gorgeous. And then I have some aster seeds right here. Really pretty aster seeds. And those are volunteers. I didn't even plant these asters. They just came in on their own. And what else do I have? Then I have mountain mint. Then I have mountain mint right here. And it's going to seed, you can see. And then I have actually it's kind of hard to get the lighting right, but and then I have this eastern red cedar, eastern redbud, American plums, which have lost most of their leaves for the season, arborvitae, and phlox. And the phlox is, I think, paniculata. I think that's paniculata, which the swallowtails and other butterflies absolutely love this plant. And then as a ground cover, I've got strawberry plants down here as a ground cover. And unfortunately there's a lot of creeping Charlie right here too that comes up. It comes up everywhere pretty much. And then I have the frost flowers. And then I have beautyberry, which is one of my favorite shrubs. It gets these gorgeous purple berries on it. They're absolutely beautiful. And then the leaves kind of turn like this yellow-green, as you can see throughout the garden there. And over here I have some new things I've added. So I added this pawpaw tree, which produces the largest fruit that's native to North America, if I have my facts straight. And then I also have some side oats grama grasses that have already flowered and done their thing. And there's the actual grass part. Sorry, it's hard to actually get it to focus. Actual grass. And more side oats grama. It's so hard to show this on camera. There it is. More side oats grama. It looked really pretty when it was flowering. It was like reds and greens and blues. It was really pretty. And then, of course, frostweed comes up everywhere. Keep that in mind. Frostweed is really important. It is great for the butterflies, but it will come up everywhere, and the roots are very strong. So it's really hard to pull it out, so you kind of have to dig it out. So if it's somewhere where you don't want it, just, yeah. And obedient plant is just about to go to flower, but it's not quite blooming yet. I've got some golden Alexanders here in the full sun that aren't doing as well as the ones that I have in shade. This is dry sun, so that's probably why. So we'll see how they do. And okay, I don't know what that was about. And I've got arborvitaes, and I've got some oak leaf hollies. Arborvitaes are native. Oak leaf hollies are not native. I've got oak leaf hydrangea in the background. And then this cypress is let me try to remember, a golden thread leaf false cypress, maybe? I always forget the name of that, but some kind of cypress. It's not native, but I bought it for evergreen interest. Okay, and then this is a redbud tree right here. It's pretty tall. I'm really happy with it. Got a little chair there nearby, and there you can see habitat hedge. Habitat hedge goes all the way from there all the way here to the arborvitaes, and then I've got the redbud in there too. And this is where I was thinking of putting a pond originally. I was originally thinking of putting a pond right here, and having the pond kind of go into the island bed, which that's a crepe myrtle. That's not native, of course. I planted this in, I forget what year that was, like 2017. This was I probably planted this thinking it was native because they grow all over my general city, my neighborhood, my town. And I will say, even though it's not native, I do love the fall color. I will say that. My mom helped me plant this. She helped me pick it out. It was like $8. It was like the short, and now it's way up there. If I had to do it over again, I would pick a native tree instead, but I have a hard time getting rid of it now because of how long it took for it to get this big, and I love the fall color, and it's sentimental at this point. But, you know, who knows what'll happen. Maybe one day I'll figure out a replacement for it and be able to do that, but just haven't been able to make myself do that. And then over here is Eastwick Garden. Eastwick Garden is on the east side of the front garden. And it is, I would describe it as mostly dry, full sun, and kind of like poor soil is probably how I would describe it. And what I have here is I've got a mix of ironweed, frostweed, blanket flower, and American plum. I've got crossvine. You can see the seed heads for the tall frostweeds and ironweeds right here. I've also got asters in here that volunteered, actually. Some of them did. Some of them I planted, some of them volunteered. And then I have things like pale purple coneflower, pink muley grass, pale purple coneflower again. I have 3 pale purple coneflowers here, 3 pink muley grasses, and the rain kind of put a damper on the pink muley grass, but it was really pretty for a bit, but now it's kind of fading. But this is the first year that they've been in. I didn't even expect to get any blooms yet, and I did get some on the pink muley grass, and I also got a bloom on the Tennessee coneflower, which I did not expect. It's right here. Tennessee coneflower, you guys. It's really pretty, huh? I think so. And then I've got late purple aster, but it is pretty much done. as you can see, it's pretty much gone to seed. But there is a little bit, it's kind of bright, isn't it? Oh, can you see that, guys? There we go. There's some flowers on some new growth at the base of the plant. They're really pretty purple flowers with yellow centers. The bees absolutely love it. And there's that lantana I was talking about. That's where I was actually thinking of putting the pond now. And you can see how vast this area is. Now I do have some plants over here I don't want to disturb. So if I do the pond over here, it'll mostly be where the lantana is to replace that. Even though the butterflies love it. So I'm going to have to add more things like phlox and verbena species. I'm going to try to find some native verbena species because they love verbena bonariensis, they love lantana, but I'd like to have some native things instead. And so I've got to add more phlox, more verbenas, things like that to make up for the loss of the lantana. And we've got more ironweed seeds, which are really pretty. Really love those. And this crooked little tree is Washington hawthorn. And it gets really beautiful red fall color most of the time. It didn't really do much this year, but it usually gets really pretty red fall color. And then I've got a mix of things here. I've got the verbena bonariensis, which, as I said, is not native, but then I've also got blue mistflower. I've got beard tongue plants in here, asters, purple coneflower. I've got, what is it called? Gray-headed coneflower. Hopefully I can zoom in so you can see that. Gray-headed coneflower right there. That's gray-headed coneflower seed heads. And there's also some wild bergamot seed heads in there. And then over here, I have a whole plan for this garden. So instead of having a lot of short herbaceous plants, I'm wanting to close this up and have shrubs here. So I want to turn this into like a little shrub hedge. Some short shrubs mixed with some medium-sized shrubs. And right now I have some short ones I planted called New Jersey Tea. If you go back to a video just a couple videos ago, I planted this right here. So you can go and watch that. It just, like I said, this was the original garden bed that we made, and we made it when we were like completely novices, didn't know what we were doing really. So there's a lot of stuff in here that I want to change. So that's what the goal is, to add more shrubs, to have less of the short herbaceous things, and have more shrubs here. And then I will hopefully eventually have this to where this is just kind of like a little hedge, and it'll close this up. This will be a little dead end, and that will be a dead end, and then that should turn this area into a little seating area right here. And then I should have like trellises and shrubs and just really pretty things right here to make this look a little bit more welcoming and a little bit more closed in, because I think that the garden just needs more rooms. We need more garden rooms. And I have a lot of lance leaf coreopsis throughout here because that is just a really good plant. Lance leaf coreopsis is a really pretty yellow flower, and this is also lance leaf coreopsis right here. And it produces really great flowers for the pollinators, and it's really good for dry soil. It's really easy to grow. You can grow it in containers, which is really great, even in dry gardens. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what the garden looks like on November 4th, I guess. And there's my black cherry tree, which is my tallest tree that I planted. So there you go. That's what the garden looks like right now in early November. The front garden. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Brand new items are now available in the shop. Thanks so much to viewers like you for supporting the channel. To support the channel, like the video, comment, and subscribe. You can also support my work by buying art from me at macylu.com. Thanks for watching!